Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Black Advancement. I'm your host slash moderator, Ajiman Jasante Goodman. On the screen with me, I have Dale McCullough. Did I say that right?
Close.
Close, God. Maurice Franklin, William Skinner, Jason Ryan, Mike Gardner, and Daniel Rashad Townsend. So today we're going to be talking about trap music at this roundtable. But before we do that, let me tell you what Black Advancement is all about. Black Advancement is a nonprofit organization that combats problems within the Black community through dialogue and action. Before we get right into it, I'm going to go ahead and talk about Front Street real quick, tell you guys about the issue we're going into. Hip hop has become the language of the world. It can give voice to political freedom fighters, disenfranchised youth, and the kid just trying to express themselves. As positive as it can be, hip hop is often portrayed as music for thugs or thuggish lifestyle. This portrayal becomes more problematic when you realize the genesis of this genre was created by poor Black children looking for a way to express themselves without being destructive. So why does both the Fox News follower and some older generations of Black people agree that this culture is destructive to the Black community? As tired and unfair as this argument seems on the surface, there is something to be said about the glorification of some of the ills talked about in the music. For every fight the power and fuck the police, there's 10 crack commandments and G's up, hoes down. It's classic. Anyway, so how can we as a community rectify this dichotomy in something so pivotal to our daily lives? Is hip hop culture, specifically the music, somehow contributing to the destruction of our community? And with that said, I'll go into the first question. What impact has hip hop had on your life? And it's free game for anybody, but if no one says anything, I can call on somebody.
I'll jump out there first.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm gonna start right now. So I met my wife at a y'all go. My phone keeps popping out, but yeah, I met my wife at a hip hop event. You know what I mean? So, and I met her there, and then now we got kids and the house and a whole life together. So that's not a big impact for me. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
Yo, I would say for me, yo, like hip hop is like a daily part of my walk, yo. Like I'll be talking, we can have a conversation and I'll bust out a rap line. Like it is as a sentence in my conversation. I'm riding to it to work. I'm listening to it at work. If I go work out, which is not a lot, I'm listening to it when I work out. Like it's the soundtrack to my life. Real shit though. It's the soundtrack to my life for real. And even if you take it a step further, hip hop isn't just the music, the fashion. You know what I mean? We dress like the cats that rap, bro. Some of, you know what I mean? Like niggas wearing polos with the collar popping pink and all that dumb ass shit. You know what I mean? But you saw a rapper do it, so you thought it was cool. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? Definitely had my collar popped and shit. You feel me?
Talk about it, Reese. Talk about it, man. I saw your face, man.
No. Go ahead. I'll let him finish.
I'm good. I'm done.
No, but I agree. I mean, I think for most of us, hip hop was just as responsible for raising us like our parents and some of our close friends. As was said, we grew up listening to the music. Sometimes we learned how to navigate the streets, the work environment, the school environment, social life, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that stuff we learned through hip hop. And also at times we used it as like therapy for some of the foolishness that we have to deal with either at work or at school. Most of us don't have, I guess, unless you grew up in like PG County, you didn't really have the luxury of going to a school that had a bunch of Black people. So a lot of times you had to vent in certain ways, and you couldn't just keep going around knocking people out. You had to use some other avenues to vent, and a lot of times hip hop was that avenue. So as far as, again, is its impact on my life, it's been extremely instrumental. Friendships have been made through it, and relationships have been enhanced with it. So it's very important.
Jason?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really, crazy part is I haven't really evaluated this question. Like I had never really thought about it because like hip hop is like, for me, it's like breathing. Like it's something that you do and it's something that's always in your life. I don't even remember a time in my life when hip hop wasn't part of it, and it's just so normal. like Dale said, you randomly quote a rap line relevant to a conversation. Like I do that shit all the time.
All the time.
And I don't even notice it. It's like, oh yeah, that was from that song. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's something that's like ingrained and embedded, just as an art form and as a culture. And it's also just, you know, art form that has inspired me in a lot of creative things I do. Just from that, you know, it's really just words and some, you know, hip hop is some words and like a loop from an old record. And to create some of the amazing things that we've seen from hip hop with very, very simple ingredients is inspiring creatively.
Hey, we were also joined by Dwayne while technical difficulties and all that, you know, COVID, you know what I mean? Dwayne, man, go ahead. I don't know if you heard the first question, so I'll let William go first and then I'll repeat it for you. Go ahead, William.
Yeah, so I'll be quick, man. For me, having an older sister, I was introduced to hip hop through tapes that she was bringing home, music she was listening to. So that kind of helped that grow within me. So I've been listening to hip hop pretty much as far as I can remember. You know, even listening to the music, trying to do the little break dance moves and all that. Not well on my part, of course, but that's been where we've been, man. And coming from a small area where it's not a lot of people, period. Taking in hip hop and listening to those stories, those commentaries about how people are living in other areas, it was refreshing for people such as myself to hear, to know that I guess it's different kind of black people. It's not just, you know what I'm saying? It's not just one type of black person, man. So it's been a big influence in my life, and you know, probably most of us here. So
yeah. So like
breakdance tapes, Bill.
You said what?
Tapes, Bill. We need some breakdancing tapes.
Nah, man, nah.
Next time
No
I
way.
see you, man, I got some cardboard for you.
No way. No
I had to
way.
get busy on that.
No way.
Yo, what was the first, I'm interested, like, what did your sister wasn't bringing home like Cool G Rap and no shit, right? Like she
No,
home like
no.
right?
The first tape that I remember having was the De La Soul, the 3 Feet High and Rising. And I hid that away. I had that in my Walkman. I was listening to that joint hard. And the next one that I remember succinctly, she had the Big Daddy Kane, and I would always like sneak them away, man. You know what I'm saying? So I could listen to them real tough. So that happened all the way for as far as I can remember, man. Like the Public Enemy, Fear of a Black Planet, I had that. Took that from listening to that. So that's been what it was, man.
Dwayne, so the question was, what impact has hip hop had on your life? Is the first question. So,
I mean, for me, I grew up in an area where it wasn't a lot of black people. So, I mean, with Aj and Maurice, we all grew up in the same church and everything. I think they probably already attested to that. So for me, it was just the outlet for me to, I guess, feel my blackness, I guess, as it was. I mean, it was my first expression of being able to, I guess, to rebel was through getting my first rap tapes, you know what I'm saying? Like Run DMC and all that. Because I came down, my mom was really, really strict. So I had to beg her to let me go down to the mall so I could go to the Waxy Maxis to get my tape that weekend, because I worked all week with my parents because I had my chores, and that was my reward, was be able to ride down to the mall, play some video games in the timeout, and then go to Waxy Maxis and get me a tape. And because my mom didn't come with me, I could get whatever tape I want. So I always was getting something I knew she wouldn't like. So like I said, for me, it was like Run DMC and all that, but then went to the NWA and then all that. But it was my expression for me and my blackness, because I was in, I mean, all advanced class, because who my father was and the representation that I had to have in the thing. It was just, that was my expression, was hip hop music. So, I mean, I'm very thankful for it. It kept me sane coming through how we grew up, I think.
Yeah, like the first, so I was introduced to hip hop through my brothers, of course, and they were. I mean, I guess at the time you wouldn't call them hip hop heads, considering how old they are, how much older they are. They're not that much older, but they're older. They were like there in the genesis of it, you know. So the first tapes that I ever heard personally was America's Most Wanted by Ice Cube, and was a Tribe Called Quest Low End Theory. So it's hard for me to listen to some of these. I digress. I'm not going to talk about the But with that being said, what was the first tape where you heard it and you were like, oh my God, what is this?
For me,
okay.
I was gonna say I was introduced. It's in twofold, right? So I had uncles and cousins that introduced like the gangster rap, NWA and the Cube and all of that first, right? And my uncle also was like a big Run DMC fan. But then we had the radio, you know what I mean? So you had Hammer, you had the Christmas song, you know what I mean? So
did you rock with Hammer back then?
Fuck yeah! I went to a Hammer. I went to a Hammer concert.
I didn't rock nice back then. I didn't rock with Hammer like that. Not
when he first came out, he was nice, man. I mean, I didn't. I guess I'm an old head here, so because when he first came out,
I had that Hammer.
I don't know if I got the parachute pants, but I wasn't hating on him because it was a show. I mean, that's what it was back then.
Didn't like Hammer,
right?
Like, come on, everybody like Hammer. Like, he may not have been your favorite.
He had a cartoon. He had a cartoon. If a rapper had a cartoon, he did his thing. I mean, that was one of the.
Kid and Play had a cartoon too.
Let me tell you, yo, until you've seen 50 people dancing in unison, nobody missing the beat, you ain't seen the show.
Right.
Yeah.
There was 50 niggas on the stage, yo.
Yeah.
I'm gonna scale back, Dale. I'm gonna scale back.
I could be wrong, but he was like the first hip hop, rap, pop artist.
Yeah.
Like out. Like nobody was, mainstreaming rap like that at that time. So I mean, when he came along, he changed up what the potential was for a rapper or a hip hop person with like Pepsi commercials and.
That's true.
And video games and TV shows and cartoons, like people weren't doing that. You weren't seeing that with hip hop. So I mean, I think even though he may not have been your favorite rapper, you gotta tip your hat to him for what he did.
Here's the thing, right? Like I said before, the people who I was introduced to rap through, right? Mm-hmm. All of them, if you listen to their albums, their records, they'd be like, you call hip hop pop, it's not pop. Stop. You know what I mean? Like that was the whole thing that Tribe Called Quest used to do when they were Beyond. So it was kind of like, to me, like when you hear the people who you listen to and you look up to, and they're like, yo, that's not, because they would look at Hammer and be like, that's kind of popish. You know what I mean? That's where my lane came in.
Right.
As far as me, like, I don't know, man. If the dudes for real is saying that, then maybe not. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, my bad. My parents were a little bit more strict, so they kind of fed me, I guess, the PG, very G hip hop, like Will Smith. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then like Heavy D, you know what I mean? So they gave me a little bone to chew on. Yeah. And then it wasn't until like my sister, she was into older, that I got into like Rakim and LL Cool J and kind of the, NWA and all the guys. So
Can I say something?
Like Will Smith.
Can I say something real quick, yo?
Yeah,
it's unfair to say Hammer's not hip hop. Because we look at it right now.
Disagree.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say why. Because hip hop ain't just music. Hip hop is breaking, it's DJing, right? And it's dancing. You see what I'm saying? And Hammer could rap, and Hammer could dance. As a dancing motherfucker. Yeah, I mean.
So Hammer was nice, yo. Hammer was good. Like when you really think about like the art of rapping. Hammer was nice. It was just the image.
Hammer was an entertainer. He was an entertainer. I mean, he was a rapper, but he was an entertainer. He was the whole thing. You got everything with that. I mean,
like it's more appropriate.
He made it palatable to most families.
I like it. I like Hammer's legacy more over than I did when I was there. You know what I mean? Like when I was there, I was like, like as I got older and I heard more stories about Hammer and stuff like that, I was like, yo, this dude he was solid. It's too late for him. But I mean, like, but it's fair though. It's fair though. I mean, like, go ahead.
One thing about Hammer, what I will say, because back then, I was fucking with it. I love that album. I think I got it for.
You got the whole album?
Yeah, the Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him.
Oh my God.
Yes, sir.
Oh my God, what?
Yes, sir.
And to Mike's
that is in the rotation. My bad, go ahead.
To Mike's point, that was a gift from my parents. Because they knew I liked hip hop, so they bought me that because it was like clean and family friendly. Mm-hmm. But I liked it. It was dope. And Hammer was a superstar. But what I will say is, for me personally, once I started to hear other stuff, like once you got into like the Public Enemy, and then later you got into like Wu and Mob Deep, and that type of hip, Dr. Dre, Hammer's musically, it was awful to me. Like I had no appeal.
Yeah.
Musically, it had no appeal after hearing stuff like that. But I still respected his position in hip hop as a superstar and a pioneer, like Reese was saying.
Yeah, definitely.
So, hey, on this part, I'm gonna go ahead and go to the guy on the couch, the disembodied voice on the chat, on the line, for him to go to the website and do the first thing from the website as far as for the first question. Guy on the couch, what you got, man?
All right, y'all. First question: what impact has hip hop had on your life? Montebellum says hip hop has had as significant an impact on my life as it has on the world at large. At times, it has served as common ground for relationships that would not have otherwise been formed, and at times, its legitimacy as a form of music has been the subject of long debates. In the end, no one can deny that it has become part of world culture. Hip hop songs are being made in just about every common language. You see it in commercials, sports, movies, and even cartoons to help children learn. So hip hop has enriched my life by providing me entertainment, education, and cultural identity. Back to you.
Thanks, guy on the couch. Appreciate it, man. William, what do you think about the comments from the website, man?
I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward. I think it touches on everything that we've been discussing since we've been on this call, man. I think that's pretty much right in the step of what we're discussing.
Yeah, I think the last statement that was made as far as identity was something that a few of us kind of touched on. Again, depending on where you grew up and the circumstances, sometimes we grew up around a lot of white people, and it was hard to identify your blackness at times when you're just growing up around a bunch of white people who don't understand you, but you know that there's something different. So a lot of times that hip hop was your window into the black world that sometimes fortunately and other times definitely unfortunately weren't able to actually experience.
I just saw Daniel's thing come up and he was just like,
Can I add something to that?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I feel like other than like racism, hip hop is like the true definition of American culture. Because hip hop as we know it could not really exist outside of the circumstances of the United States. And I feel like this may be very narrow-minded and biased, but I feel like it is a true representation of like American culture as it relates to art, because all of the everything good about hip hop, everything bad about hip hop is something that is unique to the Black American experience. And I feel like there's a reason why, beyond it just sounding good and being cool, I believe there's a bigger reason why it's so big in the world. Like everybody loves hip hop across the world, and it's had an impact on a lot of different cultures. But yeah, I just feel like it really is the height of American art, and it's like the only American art form other than racism.
And jazz.
Hell yeah.
I'm going to topic on that shit. I'm going to do a plug real quick, and then we're going to get back into these next. That was
good. I like that.
No need to go any further. So for the plug, if you go to the website, which is www.blackadvancement.com, if you ever want to get involved in one of our topics or be in one of our debates like this, and you feel like you don't have enough in your background, we have a research section where we have articles and stuff that can help you strengthen your point of view. We also have a topic section where we go through and we actually have different things that you can submit for us, but we also have a plethora of topics that we have already on deck for roundtables such as this, and issues for us to go to such as this. And lastly but not least, we have events. We do fundraisers, bar mitzvahs, so on and so forth. You know, you're free to come. You're free to come. But anyway, that's pretty much it. So now it's on to question 2. Is the current hip hop culture toxic, or is it the same as it ever was?
Was hip hop ever toxic?
Good question.
Right? I'm just saying, like, okay, hip hop is a
to white
culture,
America.
right? But okay, some lyrics are problematic, right? You got some lyrics that's problematic, but
Talking about.
But there's books. I'm saying, like, you know, you got, you know, there's a lot of misogyny and stuff like that. But you got books that got the same shit. You got movies that motherfuckers. John Wick killed 300 people. You see what I'm saying? Like, yo, like seriously, like, what is hip hop doing that a movie isn't doing, that books aren't doing? I just watched a movie about rabbits that was like going to war and killing the fuck out each other, stealing women from each other and all that shit. Like, yeah, it was called Watership Down. Don't watch it. It's violent and shit. You see what I'm saying?
That's on the list, bro. All right.
Watership Down. But I think what it is that because this is so black. Like so Suge Jason said that this is American. I don't think it's that. I think it's African American, right? It's really like black as fuck, and that's why people hate it. There's black people really sharing how they feel. You know what I mean? It's a reflection of us. You know what I mean? So that's really it's scrutinized more than rock and roll. Motherfucking Ozzy Osbourne was biting heads off bats, my nigga. Like nobody scrutinizes that. It's like, Ozzy bit a bat, but like so Ice-T talk about pimping and now it's a problem and shit. But niggas pimp. So that's how I feel about it, yo.
I don't know. I really enjoy Ozzy stuff. Mike, Mike, you want to join in? You got something on this one?
I think it's a multi-tiered. Like, y'all touched on a lot of things because I feel like with how influential hip hop is and how many people has touched. Because you could like for example, Ozzy Osbourne. Who the fuck outside of that little subculture listen to Ozzy Osbourne? You know what I'm saying? But everybody listens to
hip hop producers probably listen to Ozzy.
Exactly, you know what I mean? So when you have a large population listening to it and tuning in and you have little Johnny parents like, what is that? You know what I mean? Like, what Johnny Jr. listen to? That makes them tune into what's going on. Now they're hearing these stories that black artists are sharing, and it's like, oh my God. So I feel like the influence that hip hop has had has made it, the light on it, definitely a lot brighter than something like a movie or some, you know, other art forms as far as like heavy metal and stuff. I just feel like hip hop is such an influence that it's so powerful. Because like you said, when I went overseas in Jordan, all right, they had Tupac store. And because I was a black African, I'm a black American, they was like, oh my God, like they got a bunch of Africans over there, but they never seen a black American over there. So they're looking at me like I'm the Tupac, you know, ambassador. You know what I mean? Tupac ambassador. So, but that's the influence. That's the influence that hip hop has had. So it's at a bigger scale. You know what I mean? That's why I think it's more impactful. So.
And I would, I just want to add, first of all, Dale, I'm glad that you did single out Black Americans. That's the point I was making. But I took for granted that we all knew that Black people created hip hop. So I just said Americans. I was speaking Black.
I thought it was Elvis.
Yeah, Elvis did that. Everybody knows Elvis did that shit.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Elvis? Oh, you going too far now?
Yeah, them blue suede shoes. He was sea walking in those. That's what that was. Y'all just missed it. Y'all didn't get it. This is cool.
C stands for Caucasian.
Caucasian walk.
From the Caucasus Mountains.
Go ahead, Jason. I'm sorry. Go ahead, man.
But the question of is hip hop toxic is really like an incriminating question because the toxicity in hip hop is a reflection of the toxicity of this country.
Right.
That goes back to my point about how hip hop could only be made here by African Americans who've experienced this unique experience. Because anybody who's saying it's toxic, all the negativity is a result of the the toxic nature of our country and the toxic history of our country. So, you know, it's a reflection of it. Art is a reflection of life. So I don't think it's really fair to call it toxic, but I know that people do. Yeah. But it's not the right way to look at it.
Well, let me rephrase the question, because this was the part that was not lost in it, because I think you guys are doing a fantastic job on it. But let me just rephrase the question again, because this is going to get into some old school, new school type of stuff, where it's like, is the current hip hop culture toxic? Is the full question. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying, or is it the same as it ever was? So back when they had the Houdinis up to now, when they got the who's 21, is 21 Savage still a thing? I don't know, man.
No, he got deported.
Person.
I listen to old stuff.
Person.
I listen to old stuff.
That's a person. He exists though, yeah. No, I think it's the same. I think it's the same as it always has been. You know, hip hop in itself is rebellious. Like, it is not. It's against the grain. You know, it's outside of the norm, and it's not standard. And while it's different than the hip hop we grew up on, it's still hip hop. It's just the young folks' expression of themselves today, which to our parents, they couldn't understand the expression that we had those days, and then their parents, of course, didn't understand when they were, I don't know what kind of stuff they were doing back in the 70s, but you know, whatever it was that they were doing, yeah, when you know, it's all of, you know, because at one point R&B was considered rebellious. You know, anything that wasn't gospel was considered rebellious to the Black community or toxic or whatever. So I definitely think it's a, you know, it is what it's always been. It's a reflection of who we are in all aspects of our lives in all corners of America.
Fighting Temptations. You singing that secular music?
Hey, you coming off this with a haymaker. So,
I have a hot take on that though. If you're saying is the current state of hip hop toxic, I will argue that, and Dale and I have had this conversation before, but I would argue that the current state of hip hop is the best era of hip hop that we've had. And I say that because the diversity of the music. So whatever type of hip hop you like, there is an abundance of artists that make that music and do it well. So we're more diverse now in hip hop. Now, granted, you know, mainstream radio and mainstream media might pander to whatever is pop, but as a consumer, we have access to whatever, like you can live your whole life and listen to only one type of hip hop and constantly get that type of hip hop and never even know about the other stuff. And that's what I would argue, like the current state is it at its strongest because it is so diverse.
That's an interesting state. Dwayne, I'm gonna let you rock, and then William, I'm gonna let you rock.
I see his point, but I would say that when it impacts you the most, like for me, it hit me the hardest when I was having my growth when I left home and went into college. I went from being in an all-white situation to a historically Black college, and man, my world just like blew up. And that was like the early part of the 90s. So, I mean, just everything that was coming through then, it just, I mean, I don't know, it was just, so toxic, I don't think you can, the only toxicity I ever see is that it reflects what's actually going on in America. There's a portion of always in hip hop that's always going to reflect what is true, what America truly is. It's like the mirror of America. And it's so cutting and hard the way it gets delivered that they just can't take it. I mean, it hits them so hard in the face because they can't deny it because it's there. Just like what we're going through now, what happened with George Floyd, it's there. And now because so many of their kids are now have listened to it, that's why I think people are saying, it's different this time. Because, I mean, I appreciate all that, but it's about economics for me at this point in time, the age I am. Until we start talking about that, man, I ain't marching nowhere. I ain't doing none of that. Because, I mean, I've been to the Million Man March. I understand all that. I'm to the point now where it's economics. How we get our own banks or get something where we can fix ourselves and support ourselves. And that's what hip hop has always driven me to do, you know? So, I mean, because when I went to Hampton, I got into the 5%ers. So, I mean, I delved into a world that was just like, man, I went from ultra white Frederick to I was in ciphers, and I was like, what? Man, I almost failed out of school too, but I'm just saying, just to have that experience, and really hip hop led me to all that, because hip hop led me to NWA, which led me into Malcolm, which led me into reading Malcolm's autobiography, which led me into exploring stuff with Malcolm, which then led me to the 5%ers. And then, I mean, it just blossomed there to help give me a perspective on life, on how I see things that, I don't know, it's been a teacher for me. So that's why toxicity, yeah, because it reflects, but man, what it gives, man, in whatever area you come up in. I mean, I'm always going to gravitate to that early 90s, because that's when, for me, my most formative years are being away from my parents and developing into where I got to have my own thoughts. And I became me, who I am as a Black person, because, man, up until 18, 19, I mean, even 20, my parents' influence was so much onto me that, I mean, I was a robot of them, really. I mean, now that I'm 47 and I've made all my mistakes and done my things now, but when I look back then, I'm like, man, I was just, they cranked out their little rock bot and got them to do what they wanted to do, got them out and successful at what they thought was successful. And, you know, I mean, my parents have always been so supportive, but like, it was just that kind of a thing. But like I said, toxicity, just because it's a reflector.
William.
I agree, man. I think you look at the older hip hop rap music. It kind of leaned more from that it came from a positive perspective, but I think negativity is going to win in the end, unfortunately. I think that's what it is. That's what people want to hear. I think because a lot of the people making this music, and I hate to generalize like this, but they came from negative situations. They came from negative areas. They had negative things happen in their lives. You know what I'm saying? And these stories reflected that. And as far as the content, I mean, I hate to say it like this, but I mean, folks were getting shot to the stylistics and the dramatics back in the days. You know, folks were.
Bobby Womack was a real gangster, like
real gangster, a real gangster.
Bobby Womack shot at the mayor or something crazy like that. Like,
I
believe it.
James,
I believe
James
it.
was a wild boy.
I believe it.
James was out of control.
These folks don't play around that you just named. So you look at it from that aspect, and then taking a comparison and inventory of the artists that are popular now, maybe the reason it's seen as toxic is because it's reaching the mainstream more. But I think the content is the same. And then another thing, from as far as like the drug abuse situation, as far as the toxicity associated with that, it's interesting that that's only focused on rap music versus other genres of music where they talk about drug use and promote it as well. So I think it's about the same level of toxicity. I just think the music has gotten out further.
I will say this, man, nothing is worse than an R&B thug. We all know that. Like, there's not, like Bobby Brown, nothing's worse than R&B thugs. I don't know what y'all seen in your lifetime. They're pretty bad. I haven't seen anything worse than that. With all that being said, I'm gonna go to the guy on the couch real quick to see if he can bring some more light to this question. Guy on the couch, what you got for question number 2?
All right, I'm still reeling a little bit from the R&B thug thing, but here we go. Maria says for question number 2, is the current hip hop culture toxic, or has it always been toxic, or is it the same as it ever was? Maria says some of it is and some is not. I'm not sure. I know music and the lyrics assigned it are very impactful. They can draw people to one another in love and can incite riots. I think artists need to be mindful of what they write and sing about, as well as take ownership for them when things go badly. Back to you.
Hey, thanks, guy on the couch. Mike, man, what do you got to say to the guy on the couch, the comments from the website?
I really feel like I can agree with what he's saying. I mean, as far as bringing people in from love and bringing people in from hate, I mean, that really struck out for me, only because like how I opened up saying how I met my wife through a hip hop event. You know what I mean? So even through college, you know, I went to a white school, didn't know nobody. So first thing I did was blast, you know, I forgot. I know I was blasting something. It was something loud. And then the black kids on my street, on my floor, were like, you know, we got that. Because I was blasting, you know, hip hop music. So I mean, just that in itself, you know what I mean. So I really just looking back and trying to reflect, in my life, how hip hop has created so many relationships and so many friendships that I still have today. So I can agree with that.
That's such a funny story because at Hampton, it happened to me almost in reverse. I listened to, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Portishead or not, but Portishead's pretty dope, at least to me. And I'll never forget this. I was at Harkness Hall, walking down the hallway, and I heard someone playing Portishead. I stuck my head in there. It was Patrick. I don't know if y'all remember Patrick or whatever, the Indian, tall, half black, half Indian dude. And I was like, yo, you listen to Portishead? He was like, oh yeah, yo, you listen to Portishead? I was like, yes, man, yeah. So we was friends, but it's funny how music can do that with people. Yeah. Anyone else on this?
Portishead is dope, by the way, Aji. I'm with you on that.
Portishead is dope, no doubt.
So, as a person who didn't understand the question to its fullest, you say, is it as toxic as it was before? I think that hip hop is pretty much the same. I think lyricism has got a little better over the years, so people can. I believe that. So, the further you go, people can definitely express the things that are the reflection of what's going on in their communities. Plus, if you think about it, we all grew up on it. Everybody said NWA and all of that was their first thing. You know, they was talking about gangbanging and killing and shit, right? And selling drugs and shit. So I think. So I mean, yeah. Well, no, fuck the police is positive, but like, you know what I mean? But we grew up like Cool G Rap Road to the Riches was about selling dope, yo. Like niggas, Ice-T was talking about pimping. So it's just the negativity is there. If you want to call shit negative, right? The toxicity and the misogyny and yo, Akinelli had a song. Akinelli and Cool G Rap got a song where they talking about beating up a woman, yo. It is the worst shit I've ever heard in my life. But we grew up on that shit. You know what I'm saying? Put it in your mouth in high school was the shit.
Don't you got a song?
That joint still will rock a party right now.
Yeah, it certainly will. It certainly will.
So what I'm saying is, no, hip hop is, if you want to call it toxic, yeah, it's the same. It's the same shit. It's just that now what's popular is the niggas taking the drugs and your Triple X Tentaciones and your 21 Savage and your Futures and shit like that. It just was popping. It's just that I think that the pro-black positive message shit was more of what they played on the radio back in them days.
Yeah, I think that definitely what was considered mainstream hopped around from genre to genre. Like, you know, mainstream once upon a time became what was gangster rap. Once upon a time it was knowledge of self type rap, you know, 5%ers and stuff. Once upon a time it was like we slinging dope. Now we doing dope. So I mean, like, you know, not that I listen, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, you know, that makes sense to me. So with all that being said, I'm gonna go to my second plug for the website, which is www.blackadvancement.com. This is so cool I finally get a chance to do this. So before I do that, you guys can go to the debates tab. It's on the website. You basically get to watch different roundtables that we've done throughout the years. Dwayne's been on them, Maurice has been on them, Daniel's been on them, Mike's been on one. Still better than that. No.
We're not the only generation doing dope. Y'all had a song in the late 80s, early 90s called Your Mama's on Crack, ho.
I don't recall listening to that.
Your Mama's on Crack, ho. Go look it up.
Videos on BET too, man. Tough video too.
It was on a jukebox.
We don't got nothing like that in 2020. I don't want to hear that.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. It's all positivity. I only remember positivity. So another part of our website is, and this is cool, the recommended websites. And I actually have two of the people who do whose websites we recommend on Black Advancement here. I'm gonna let them go ahead and take it over. Dale, go ahead and talk about your business, man.
Yo, shout out to y'all guys, man. Listen, I'm here representing the Where's Buffy podcast, where'sbuffy.com, where'sbuffy.com, WHERESBUFFY.com, yo. Podcast, we dope, yo. We funny. We talk about sports, current events, everything, hip hop, all that shit, man. Holla at us, man. Where'sbuffy.com. Where's Buffy on everything? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, MySpace, Mihente, all that.
Said my hinte.
I'm sorry.
He old school. He said my
I'm gonna
hinte.
look it up.
That's
I'm gonna
old
look it up
school.
after this goes. I'm gonna look it up, man. Jason, man, you also are on there. Go ahead and talk about your stuff, man.
Oh yeah, blackdroog.com. It's art, man. It's all types of art. It's a platform to just inspire creativity, and it's just all about art. We got artwork like graphic arts. We got cartoons. We got music. We got beats, hip hop shit. All that. I'm not as good of a salesman as Dale is, but Black Droog is a place for art, man. It celebrates art.
If only we all could be, man. Dale, I'm gonna pay you later.
Oh, I'm sorry. And we got we got fashion too. This is all Black Droog original. Yeah, I forgot to mention that.
I will say I do have one of his shirts, and the quality is high. I will say, it's very high quality.
Definitely just had my Black Droog shirt on the other day. So
Actually, I had my black shirt on the other day too. That's not even a joke.
That's what's up. So yeah, blackdroog.com. Black DROOG.com.
Most definitely. Also, another thing that we do every month is we put out a book of the month. This book that we're going to highlight this time is That Nonviolent Stuff Will Get You Killed, How Guns Made the Civil Rights Movement Possible by Charles E. Cobb Jr. That's Nonviolent Stuff Will Get You Killed. How
That's
guns
the
made
last title. There's a whole lot. I need to.
Wow.
Well,
There's a whole lot in that title.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm not gonna say it like this, but I'll just say it. I think we have the best list of books you could ever get. Like if you got a library full of the books that we got on our website, we will burn this motherfucker to the ground. Anyway, so
Yo, hey you.
So anyway, so with that being said, we're gonna go on to question 3. And remember, man, you guys feel free, please, to just go ahead, man. Just do what you got to do in terms of whoever wants to jump in first. Last question of the roundtable: does the Black community give hip hop culture too much credit or blame for the current state of the Black community? So that's for anybody. And before you guys answer, let me just say this: when we I shouldn't say I because there's more than one person, but when we created some of these questions, I was like, man, this is a sneaky good question because you got to think about all the other questions in totality leading up to this one, kind of like how big of an impact hip hop has had on you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if you're a reflection kind of the community and you're a part of the community and you realize that everybody's not exactly the same as you are, there's going to be some people who take 50 Cent's life and say, yeah, I can do that. And then go out there and get messed up. You know, you got to take all of that into it. So when answering this question, just be careful. How about that? So who wants to go first?
Well, damn.
Who is it? Can you repeat the question again?
Yes, sir.
Question?
Yeah, I will repeat the question because it's a tough question. Does the Black community give hip hop culture too much credit or blame for the current state of the Black community?
I think it depends on the.
Go ahead, whoever.
Go ahead, Reese.
I was to say, I think it depends on the generation you're talking about. I think some of the older generation of Black people kind of would give it blame for some of the ills of society that they see the young folks suffering today, kind of forgetting at times like y'all went through the same thing, you know, when you guys were at that age. And so really, you know, so anyway, I think that is, I think of that at that age, then yes, I think it's too much blame. I think for us, I don't think hip hop gets enough credit for how it's shaped our lives and at this point our kids' lives. And so I think it's a little bit of both.
I've had this same point of view since way back in the 90s when, you know, Al Gore's wife and C. Dolores Tucker and all them were fighting against hip hop. It's like you can't blame art for people's behavior. And a lot of it it's just a lazy cop out to me. like when you blame any type of art form for people's behavior. Like hip hop got it really bad and still does. But like Columbine, they blamed it on the music that those kids were listening to.
Was it Marilyn Manson, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, they blamed it on them. Like it's art, it's entertainment. Like there's some deep messages and there's a lot of poignant topics that are discussed in music, but it's still an art form.
Mhm.
And you can't blame art for behavior. It's illogical to me.
People gravitate toward the arts that backs their feelings anyway.
Right.
So if you already was on some murderous shit, you going to go towards some murderous shit. I'm gonna tell you, yo, I sell dope in my head all day at work, but am I gonna go out here and get a brick? No.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in my head, nigga, I am Jeezy. I'm at the stove. You know what I mean? It's an escape, man. Like I think people give it way too much credit, man. Like Jason said, it's a cop out, man. Like you well-adjusted humans take it for what it is. It's entertainment. It makes you feel a certain way. It might change your mood. Music changes my mood, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm listening to some sexy shit on the way to my girl house, it make me feel a certain way. But if I'm listening to something else, I might be like, fuck that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? but I'm not going, but I don't act on that because I'm a well-adjusted human. You know what I mean? Like that's so like I don't know, yo. Like I think it's definitely way too much credit. Way too much credit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would have to
It's
agree
like
with
it's
Jason.
like a lot of that goes.
Okay.
Oh, good. I was just gonna say real quick. A lot of it also is at the home. Like parents limit their child's access to certain content because they know at a certain age you're more impressionable. So there's a whole bunch of shit that a kid can listen to and get a wrong idea. There's a lot of shit they can watch. There's a lot of games they can play. There's a lot of content out there that could have a negative effect on their mind. But to quote one of the great rappers who has said some of the most ignorant yet artistically crafted hip hop, Styles P, he's got a line in a song where he says, if you under 21, you shouldn't listen to this. Right. And then he says some real foul shit. It was a dope song. But the point is, like, that maybe there is some stuff where the parents might need to step in a little bit more. Or maybe there's stuff that just, if we acknowledge that certain music is for adults. Now, kids are going to get their hands on shit they're not supposed to all the time. But to just make a blanket statement of a negative influence and toxic, and when a lot of parents look at it that way, some stuff is just for adults, and that's okay. You know, it's okay for us to have stuff that's just for us, and that's a big element in the whole thing when you think about influence, because there's a whole lot of shit that adults do that can have a negative influence on a kid. But parents got to stay on top and at least try to limit their access to it. Because like I said, and like we all know, the kids are going to get their hands on shit they're not supposed to. But just try a little bit. Keep certain shit away. But leave the good, ratchet, grimy, ignorant, crack-selling, gangster hip-hop. Let adults enjoy it without all that commentary because it's for us.
Right.
Hey, look, man, I don't appreciate you talking about my parenting style at all, Jason. I'm just going to let you know that. I told you all that in confidence. So, Mike, I believe you wanted to say something.
I was just saying, I totally agree with Jason. How do you blame an art form? And I think it gives you the cop-out. You can blame an art form, but you can't blame the policies that are in place for the artist to experience that lifestyle to be able to speak on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't, how are you explaining the redlining where you're not giving people access to housing, or, you know, discrimination in jobs where they, you know, for example, my grandfather had all the education but couldn't get a job because they were discriminated against. So, and then my parents were steered into teaching, where that is a limited salary occupation, versus the other kids, white kids' parents who, you know, were steered into engineering and steered into banking and had access to all this other stuff. So their experiences are different based on the policies that America has set for us as a society. So how can you blame an art form for whatever toxicity or whatever, based on the lifestyle or the realm of existence that you created for them to thrive or to cease in. So that's so to stay, you know, to put the hip hop and put that boulder on that shoulder is not, it's not okay for me, because, you know, there's so many other issues that.
COVID.
Man.
It's tough.
Yo, it's the feds, yo. It's the feds, yo.
Cut them off. I get out of here.
Got him out of here. Pull the plug real quick.
God dang.
He was on his shit, man. He was on his shit too.
Oh no,
We're
he's
kind
kind
of
blackness. We got cut that
We've
off.
only really been exploring like the negatives of how I guess it's been blamed too much for society.
Correct.
But I think we haven't really explored the positive impact hip hop has had on society. Like, hell, there's like what 6-7 of us in this round table right now that grew up on hip hop, who are now raising their kids on hip hop and some of the things that they've learned from hip hop or from people that they've met through hip hop right now. So I think that it doesn't get enough credit for the people that it has helped produce today. Like, I think even though we are really only given a small window into folks that are not really doing what they should be doing in the world as far as the representation of Black Americans, we all know, you know, for those that went to your Hamptons, your Howards, your Norfolk States, or whatever school we went to, there's campuses full of Black folks that are progressive, trying to do something, that all grew up on hip hop, that listen to hip hop. And as my man said, like, we're all well-adjusted humans where we're not out there backhanding women.
No, that's a terrible. You went to backhanded women.
Bro, you know, flipping bricks and all that stuff. Like,
William.
You know, flipping bricks and, you know, running up in houses and all that stuff. You know, we can take the good and the bad from the hip hop and the lessons that are taught. You know, and if we got to quote somebody, you know, one of the most famous ones, Hov did that. So hopefully you don't have to go through that. Like, we don't have to do that kind of stuff. We can understand where he came from and look at where he is today and understand how we can use business and economics, like Dwayne said, and empower ourselves, as opposed to just that one-sidedness of we just got to be in the street because that's our only option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other part of that too is, like, I think somebody mentioned it earlier about how hip hop as an art form is kind of a release. But I think that one of the things that it doesn't get credit for is, and I don't know how to really say this, so I'm just gonna say it, but like a lot of the rappers that are out there rapping about like beating people up and shooting people and shit, like, if they weren't rapping about it, they might be doing it in real life.
Yeah.
Some of them might be doing it real. So it's a release. It's an escape. It's like how you
therapeutic
in athletics to blow off steam. Like, yeah, I gotta go work out to blow off steam. Like, rapping about beating somebody up is therapeutic. You know what I'm saying? Listening to somebody rap about beating somebody up is therapeutic, because you won't want to do it. Even if you really want to, you listen to like MOP or something like that, it's a form of release. So it's like therapy. And I can't remember, I think somebody said that, used that word too, therapy. But it does help keep you from doing certain bad shit, you know, because it's a way to channel negative energy and creating something beautiful and artistic from that negative energy. And it doesn't get a lot of credit for that.
I could see where there's definitely a lot of merit to what you said right there. I can see that.
And a lot of folks forget too, like, hip hop culture brought a new wave or generation into gospel music. Like, because gospel was real different before, like, the 90s and 2000, when you started getting your Kirk Franklins and stuff. We were kind of introducing elements of hip hop into gospel, and so that kind of got people into the music. And people don't give it that credit, but it happened.
Interesting.
Like,
William, Go ahead, man. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jason. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just nodding along. Reese was
Okay.
on point.
Okay. I feel like hip hop deserves some darts, man. I listen to hip hop all the time, but I take all right, I look at Future as an example, right? I love his music, right? But for years he talked about sipping lean and drug use. And he still rapped about it even after he quit. Right? And so you're putting this message out to kids. Oh, this is the thing to do, but you stopped doing it because you saw how it was destroying your life. Right? What's the young man that passed away? He had all the pills on the plane.
Juice World.
Juice World. Yeah, he's like, yeah, I started sipping lean because I was listening to Future. Right? So yeah, you're right. It does take a well-formed person to understand that these things aren't the thing to do, and this is just art. This isn't real life. But sometimes people just try things and get hooked on it, and that's unfortunate too. I think the fact that hip hop's message has gotten out so far, the fact that some of the messages that are being communicated aren't that positive, and the fact that people actually believe everything these rappers are saying,
Yeah.
I think that does have a negative effect on the community, right? Because you thinking, oh man, Conway said I can spin the block and shoot up everybody and then just go hide, right? No, it doesn't work like that, right? And so yeah, going back, yes, well-formed people don't do these things, right?
Right.
But if you see a person from the same community as you, somebody that looks like you, right? If you believe everything they're saying, if they tell you to do it, you might do it. That's just me playing devil's advocate.
See, Bill, I gotta disagree, big homie. I gotta disagree, man, because there's so many things in our culture that you could blame for stuff, right? We watch movies. I mean, movies and Van Gogh cut his ear off, nigga. I'm not doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like I just think, and I think that Juice World shit is a cop out because he what he did, what he was, what I'm assuming was that his friends, here's some lean, because you got to go get it somehow, right? Nobody, it doesn't magically appear. You don't listen to a record and say, shit, I'm gonna try that. Somebody in your circle introduces that shit to you, and then you listen to the music that
reinforces,
that helps you high. Like when I was smoking grass, I wanted to hear weed music. I smoke cigars right now. I want to listen to Rick Ross and those beats and that vibe. Cigar spirit vibe, smoking and drinking. I want to hear the vibe that goes with my cigar shit. You feel what I'm saying? So like, I think that, again, we talk cop outs. I think that Juice World shit was him that's a cop out shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, music didn't want to make me want to smoke weed. Them niggas around me that I thought was cool, you know what I'm saying, made me want to smoke weed and shit. So I mean, people could use that shit, but I don't know. I gotta disagree. I don't think that music. I mean, again, well-adjusted human beings and shit, man. You know what I mean? You got to, I'm not gonna read a book I think I'm Iceberg Slim out this bitch. You feel me? I'm not gonna read Donald Goins and go out and pimp hoes.
I mean,
they're giving the game away.
So not to be told.
Man. You know what I mean? Depends on your strip.
The game away. I mean, like, Dwayne, man, go ahead.
Man, this is. Because I was good until I heard Williams' argument. Because I see where he's coming from, and I get that, but I think for me, it's not. I mean, putting stuff on an art form is crazy to me when it's the policies of his country is really what does really whatever's going on here. I mean, I think anytime you put it off to these types of things, and whatever her name was, Dolores or whatever, who was back then.
Dolores Tucker.
Yeah, doing all that. To me, I think that's the type of person that's misleading people on what is the problem. You know what I mean? Because she got us all caught up on going after that when it really was whatever policies that caused them brothers to say what they were saying on that rap is what caused this to happen. This was just a reflection of what was happening to them. So, like I said, it's hard for me to say this does it, because to me it's more of always of a reflection of what it sees. Now, if what you see in the mirror you don't like, man, ain't nothing you can do. The mirror is you, you know. So I mean, do something. You got to change that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just so America has to, whatever we gonna do, we got to do it. You know. So putting it on the music, never that. On the culture, nah. I mean, it helps amplify things, and it can help inspire things, and I think it does. I mean, music inspires. You know. I mean, for me, Outkast, Southern Player Cadillac Music for Your Trunk, boy, that's my favorite album. Anytime I can get that, go to my place and I can get out of whatever I'm in. You know what I mean? So that's what it is for me.
Hey, real quick. My bad, Reese. Just real quick.
No,
do you guys think that Reverend Butts and C. Dolores Tucker, do you think they were wrong, or do you think their message and the way they were delivering it was wrong?
I think
their delivery was wrong. I think their delivery was wrong, because I think coming out of that, and maybe I'm misremembering it, but I do think afterwards you started getting like parental guidance and things like that on tapes and CDs and stuff. So I think that was a very positive thing, because like Jason said, all this music isn't for kids. Like, some of it is for grown folks, and if you aren't grown, you don't need to be listening to it. Like, we don't need a lesson to know that shooting up the block or selling coke is wrong. Like, we know it's wrong, so we can listen to somebody talk about something that they may have done in the past.
Wait,
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it if it's your line of work. I mean, like Dynamite, I sell drugs. Anyway,
I sell drugs in the community.
but
but what was going on when that was going on? When they were selling them drugs, the drugs was being brought in by our own country. They was bringing it in, selling it to us. So I mean, if we know what was going on, I mean, that's what I'm saying, man. How you come back and say, oh, the music, man? This is what this is. I mean, shit. I mean, I don't know.
I think it was Busta Rhymes that said it. He was like, it's not the niggas want to do it. It's that niggas is put in a situation where they feel like they have to do it.
Yeah.
And so it's
a fantastic song.
Yeah. And so, nobody would be out there doing all the dirt that is out there and sometimes portrayed in hip hop if like Mike said, there wasn't redlining going on where you pushed an entire race of people into one community and then pull all the resources out of that community and then said, hey, fend for yourselves. You got it, right?
Put a freeway through there. Yeah.
And put a freeway through it, yeah. And, you got food deserts and you got terrible performing schools. And you don't have jobs and you don't have a way for anybody in those communities to get to any good paying jobs. You're destroying their housing market. Like, what do you expect people to do? People are going to have to do what they have to do to survive.
Yo, here's my problem with C. Dolores Tucker. There's so many things that she could have went after. And as a black woman, to go against the black culture of the times, this was fucked up in my opinion, because again, rock, movies, books, and people been burning books and shit. That's, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's just dumb. Like, I get it. Slap a parental advisory sticker on it. I'm cool with that. That's as a parent, you should be monitoring what the fuck your kids listen to anyway. But for her to make that hip hop her Maltese Falcon, you know what I'm saying? That's my problem with her. Like, there's so much other shit she could have went after, but she went after hip hop. She went after her own fucker. Say no.
I don't think she understood though.
I'm playing.
She did.
I don't agree with what she did and how she did it. I think that she really had a lack of understanding of the culture of hip hop. I think she only saw one side of it and just assumed that it was bad, and she didn't.
She didn't have to get out on Front Street like that. She could have come to us and talked to us about it. We always got to be that, whatever you want to call them,
that
cool,
Bill Cosby
whatever,
kind of thing,
that jumps out on Front Street and blast it all out. Like, we gonna admonish in front of everybody. We can keep that in house, man. It didn't have to be done like that. When we in house, I respect you, C. Dolores, because you my elder. You know what I'm saying? And you know what? You might be right, but you ain't got to go out on Front Street try to smack me in my face. These are grown ass men. You know what I'm saying, man? What? Man?
Stay on code. We gotta start staying on code, man.
And,
I mean, there's just a certain way. If we're going to be a group, and we got to handle things a certain way. We got to have a unified front, but behind the thing, we work without. That's how all these other communities do it. That's how we got to do it. I mean,
and the other thing too is like, and Reese was touching on this a little bit, but like, if we saw this recently with the George Floyd protest, is that people will focus on the negative and not even listen to the message.
Right.
Like Peter Loris Tucker and them were talking about all of the negatives about the lyrics, and they use this word and they talk about this. But do you hear what these motherfuckers are communicating about where they live?
Yeah.
Like everybody back then that was making that type of music made it clear to let it be known where they are from.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of being mad at them for telling a story or using certain language, it's like the whole thought behind, wow, like where is this coming from? Like they really go through that?
Yeah.
That
I mean, too.
one part of it just got ignored.
Yep.
So it didn't matter why or what they were saying. It was just they used this word, it's negative. They promote this image, it's negative.
Yeah, they took stuff out of context, maybe in the full context. Like one of the illest scenes on Straight Outta Compton to me was the idea of them doing the song Straight Outta Compton, and then like 4 years later, the Rodney King uprisings happened. You know what I mean? And then everything, if you think about it, everything that was in that album, every song that they made, that they were sitting there getting crushed in the middle of the streets when they were throwing their CDs out and their records out and getting the FBI on them. All of those songs spoke to exactly what happened in that scenario.
Oh yeah, Cube was a prophet. Ice Cube he prophesied that whole situation.
Absolutely.
Then he made the Predator to be like, see, I told y'all. Told y'all.
Absolutely.
I had to tell you.
Let me go ahead and go to the guy on the couch. This has been a fascinating hey Mike, man, it was a shame you dropped out. You was in your bag, homie. But you know, the guy on the couch. We go to the guy on the couch using your bag, homie. Go ahead, guy on the couch, man.
Mike Wi-Fi spelled WH Wi-Fi and shit.
Yeah, powerful discussion, guys. It's really not, I'd say, any response that's markedly different than what you guys have already said. Question number 3, does the Black community give hip hop culture too much credit or blame for the current state of the Black community? So I'm going to read the response from Boom Bap. He says, considering how influential hip hop has been in my life, I would have to say the blame is probably about right. Although, as I've stated before, that I was not influenced to do everything I heard in a song, I'm not the average person. I'm no genius, but I know there are people who are gullible / lack common sense and believe they can do the things in these songs with no repercussions. Even if that's 15% of the people who believe that, that's a huge problem in the Black community. Back to you guys.
What do you guys think about the comment from Boom Bap?
Well, I can say that it makes me think about something that I thought I had when Bill was giving his devil's advocate take, is that I think one thing that's missing, and one thing that me as a fan I really value when I get it from an artist, is real authenticity. Like when Bill's example of Future, like when he was sipping lean and partying, he was rapping about it, but then he stopped and he still kept rapping about it. But what is really valuable is when an artist is authentic to themselves and they're open. And although Bill used a Conway reference, I do want to say that the Griselda dudes are very authentic in what they do. I had to do that.
I knew you wouldn't let it slide.
They are very authentic, but the point is, the authenticity gives you, it doesn't just celebrate the partying and glorify the negative and dwell in the despair. It gives you everything. And the authenticity from an artist, I think, is important, because the listener doesn't just hear one side of it. You get all of it. So like the same rapper that's going to say, yeah, I might shoot up the block, is also going to tell you, I got shot in the head and almost died, and I had to learn how to talk again. And when a listener hears that, you get the whole story. So then it's like, well, yeah, maybe this isn't just cool to just go run around sipping lean and selling dope, whatever, because Future did it. He almost died. Future made that song, said he almost died from sipping lean. I know he didn't do that, hypothetically, but that's what brings it all back to reality. Is when an artist is actually open and authentic, you get the whole story.
But what do you think too? And I understand the perspective of that. Like I said, like the guy used like 50 Cent, I think is one of the dudes or whatever as an example. And everyone knows famously 50 got shot like what, 9 times or something crazy like that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I mean, he's still 50 Cent. Like, you know what I mean? Like some people will look at that and say equal trade. If that's what I got to go through to become that, then I'll come through and go through and do that. And I'm not saying that that's everybody. I'm saying that there are people that we all know that don't have common sense.
Them niggas dumb.
Like there's plenty of people who don't survive one shot. Like I don't think somebody's willing to take 9 for a couple $1 million. Like I'm good. I'll be broke. Don't shoot me.
Right.
And there's only one 50 Cent. And before 50 Cent, Tupac was that example, but he eventually died that way. You know what I'm saying? And
that was the surgeon's fault. That was the surgeon's fault.
Right. Well, that's a whole other episode.
It wasn't him stomping out a crib?
Oh, no.
No.
Nothing like that.
It wasn't Suge Knight setting it up. But but even still, there's just one 50 Cent. So that's not really obtainable for the average person. You know what I'm saying? So the people who are, and I don't want to be.
There's only one Bill Gates too, but that don't stop people from fucking programming computers and shit.
Yeah, but Bill Gates don't have a tragic backstory, yo.
Right.
Yeah, man.
Dropped
out of Harvard.
He grew up in Washington.
He
dropped out of Harvard. He had an opportunity.
Yeah. No, man, he had all kinds of stuff. You know how hard it is to drop out of Harvard.
But it's not it's just that it's not the people who are victims of like listening to 50 Cent and thinking that if they get shot they'll become a millionaire. They are susceptible to everything in the world that is.
Yes.
Like if you're the person, and because it's a bigger issue. It's a bigger issue than you can point to music or any art form, because if you're the person that'll listen to Mobb Deep and then go get a pistol and start shooting and stabbing, knuckling down people, punching people in their face for living, stashing a Mac in your Acura engine for crack sale intentions, if you're going to do that because you listen to a Mobb Deep song, then any random dude on the street is like, hey, yo, I got a gun. That would make you want to go get a gun. Because you're susceptible to anything at that point.
Right.
I will say, just to give them a little credit to Mobb Deep, I mean, I think that they're a little more influential than some random dude on the street.
No. But what I'm saying is, like you don't want to get me started on Mobb Deep.
No, I don't.
I hold them with very high esteem. But I'm
going on your Mobb Deep stories.
But how'd you about to hit you with the That's Our Show today?
But I'm just saying the person that is influenced to do negative things because they hear it in a song is susceptible to do the same shit if they get influenced by anything else. So it's a bigger problem than just the music.
I understand what you're saying. It's good. This is a good point. Last words on it before I go. Going to this plug. Anybody?
I thought he was going to talk about trap music, man. I wanted to talk about how Project Pat is my favorite down south rapper, man.
Love Project Pat.
And that's our
Love
show.
Project Pat.
Come on, man. Don't you be mad at me because your bitch done shows up. I'm not like the pimping.
I'm going to do plug 3.
Yeah, cheese and dope.
Okay, that's enough. Let's stop at another line of cheese and dope.
Legend.
Who doesn't like Project Pat? Like,
who don't like Project Pat?
How can you like hip hop and not mess with Project Pat?
Yeah. How can you answer the question?
Huh?
Nothing. All right, plug 3. Plug 3. So one of the other things at our website, which is www.blackadvancement.com, we're nonprofit, so we got to ask for profits to make profits, donations. It's part of what we do. If you ever get a chance to, we got a running list of the things that we spend money on. Usually you'll find the different events that we spend money on, and we also have a running list of things that the money that we take in from the core members and so on and so forth. Also, section Black people you should know. Salam Poor is a Black person you should know. He was born in 1747, lived till 1802. He was a Revolutionary War hero who fought in battles in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. But he's most famously known for his fighting at the Battle of Bunker Hill, where he killed a bunch of high-ranking British officials. If you want to know more about his story, which is not, of course, taught in any schools anywhere, you can go to our website to that section. And now the biggest thing that our organization is about is solutions. It's one thing to get together and talk with all your friends on Zoom during a pandemic and talk to things that affect the Black community. It's another thing to try to do something to eradicate some of these problems, even if you can do it in your own small way. So this is what we do as an organization. We try to come up with solutions to these problems. So I should say it in air quotes because, you know, but we kind of try to come up with solutions to some of these problems. Some of you may have seen one of our solutions, which is the credit commandment books that we come out with like once every few years. One of the things that we're thinking about doing for this year, for instance, is because kids are out of school now, we might think about going out and buying one of these summer bridge books for all the kids that are out from school, and maybe trying to find a way to funnel them to the kids around in our area. So this is some of the things that we do with our money and some of the projects that we come up with. But this is not something that we don't have a monopoly on ideas. If you guys have an idea too, you can always write into the website yourselves and also contribute. With all that said, I'd like to thank everybody on the panel who came out for this. Bless y'all, appreciate y'all. It was a great conversation. You guys can follow us on Facebook at The Black Advancement. You can hit us on Twitter at BA Inc. 44 or on Instagram at BA_Inc_44. Till next time, Black people advance. Shout out to Hampton University. Where y'all got to shout out to? Doesn't matter, it's my show. Yeah, I'm gonna stop recording.